What's going on, man? Yeah, it's gonna be one of them ones.
What
You know what I'm saying? What's going on, Sid, man? We got my boy Cedric Ortega in the building. You know what I mean? A lot of rumblings been going on in the streets, man. We see y'all
Oh
pile
boy,
in.
we've been
Feel me?
away for a minute, and it's been like crazy house.
Yeah, man. A lot of people think because we nice, you know what I'm saying? Because we decent human beings, we civilians. They think we just some pushover, like they can just run over us and talk crazy and all that.
It's like
I don't
it,
even,
it, it is crazy. Let the family roll in. Shout out to Taj. Mel,
Yeah,
I see you in the building. Man, Dinka Madi MM7K in the building. We ain't riding. Pseudo's running hard. You right. Peace to talking to kinfolk. How you doing? Peace to Mandinka Mali. Got a shout out to my brother JJ 7000. He be wilding on YouTube, but he called me in the back, make sure I'm okay. He's a good brother.
yeah. And JJ, you a little slow, but we gonna shout you out anyway. But you a little slow. We all know it. You know what I'm saying? But we welcome you in. You know what I mean? We let you talk. We let you get your little piece in.
For
But yeah,
sure.
you a little slow. You know what
Eva
I mean?
in
I'm
the
just gonna say
building.
it.
Malik
Yeah.
Tini, thanks for being here. We're gonna let some people climb in the building. Let me shout out to my good brother Zion. Y'all don't get it twisted. It's friendly fire. We're just
Friendly
some
fire.
we're just some old men in our midlife crisis. Want to be young.
I don't want to
we,
be young, man. Look,
we
I told
spitting
my friend,
bars back and
hey,
forth,
said,
man. It's all good fun.
I told my friend the other day, man, I'm glad to make it to a couple of grades. I'm not
Yes,
even
sir.
gray yet. I get a couple of
Yes,
little
sir.
here and there, but it's a privilege to make it to your gray hairs because a lot of people didn't make it there. You know what I'm saying? So
Shout out to the space age African.
shout out to
And
Anthony Bowman, man, all day coming with that fire.
respect that brother. He's putting us, he's making us legends. We are going to live
Yeah,
forever by
yeah,
means of our good brother Anthony Bauer.
yeah. He got
Thank
that
you.
kick though low, man. Y'all check out that kick though low star or was it? No, matter of fact, it's the Galaxy. He got out there on check the YouTube page and you'll see our pictures that we got on there. That
Yeah,
Anthony Bowman took himself, and he put us out there in the stars, man. We in the cosmos, man.
yeah, we in the cosmos.
Now, who else doing that, yo?
Shout out to Space Age African. If anything that we're doing, he's taking us to the stars, bro. We're the rest of us is on the ground. Anthony is taking us to the stars. Respect to Anthony. Go check out the Space Age shows with him and Sister Juju. Awesome shows, some of the best shows, some of the most fun shows or productive learning shows on the Pseudo Killers platform.
Yes, indeed, man. Yeah. Anthony Bowman and Juju, man. Y'all
Yeah,
go back and check out them old, you know what I'm saying? Beyond the Galaxy shows that they did, man. They dropped a lot of
yes,
knowledge.
sir.
I think a lot of y'all missed that.
Yes,
You
sir.
know what
And
I'm saying? Y'all
on
still,
the Pseudo Killers chat
when
platform.
when people be
Go in
like,
our
yo,
archives.
yeah, when people like, yo, the pseudo killers don't do this and they don't do that, but when we got them type of shows on, where y'all at? Y'all
Mhm.
need to go and check it out. We talking about scientific literacy. How many times we got to explain what a scientific theory is? Like we did a show on that
We, we,
three,
we,
four
we,
years ago. Like,
we
you know
started
what I mean?
at the
Come on,
beginning 3-4 years ago. We started
the
from scratch,
basics.
from the basics. We worked our way up, and we're still having to do these type of shows. Shout out
Still
Alex
having to do it.
Flores. Let me shout out to the Lions Den. Of course, I'm the reigning, defending Lions Den champion debater on the paradigm shift. I'm looking for some big fish to fry because you know how we do. We do the big shows. Uh,
Already.
and so I'm ready for anyone that is worthy. Unfortunately, what I got in front of me today,
I'm saying, like, I mean, we can entertain it, but you know what I mean? Like we playing right now. Like
I
I
think,
think because we even entertain them, they feel like we something to play with.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? They really
And
feel like,
they take
oh,
our
they just one
kindness
of
for
them little
weakness.
dudes or something. Go
They
ahead,
take
go
our
ahead,
kindness
Sid.
for weakness. Because we honestly feel embarrassed when that type of rhetoric is coming out of the mouth of an attractive young black lady. So Unc is very cordial. He supports the ladies. So he tries to educate them. And there is something really, really wrong, really, really wrong with that young lady. She doesn't have the ability to sit down and actually take it in.
So you talking about
Naphtali, right? We're talking about Naphtali. We're talking about nutter, butter, nuts. Wrap too tight, aka Naphtali. That's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Let us not mince any words. This lecture, and you're gonna see it's a lecture. Why? There are going to be 21 questions posed to this young lady, which I would like to see her present in a coherent, mind you, coherent presentation. Because up to now, nothing that you have presented has even resembled any form of coherency.
Yeah.
You're all over the place. It doesn't make sense. So I think it is time that we do what pseudo killers do and teach. We're going to address many and all of your pseudoisms, but we're going to actually take this opportunity to teach. I think it's necessary. We've heard things like humanity come out of the mouth of a grown man in 2020.
Man, listen. Man, listen, humanity. That's what we dealing with.
Someone that takes
2025,
that classic picture, that very simplified picture, which everyone knows that is a more or less a religious misrepresentation of what evolution is, and he claims that the character or the individual in the middle represents a humanity. Now, even if you look at that flawed picture, there is no way in that picture you can identify anything that would be a human.
And it's like I said before, I blame Sarnetta, but we ain't gonna deal with that another day. We ain't gonna do that right now. We gonna, you know what I mean? I'm gonna let you do your thing.
Shout out to Sar.
I blame the channel that been letting these creeps get on these stages and push this bullshit for years. To where it created other creeps. It created baby creeps. And then they grew up to become people like Naphtali and, you know what I'm saying?
Rap too tight. Rap too tight.
War children and who else? Who else is out there, man? Who else we got? What's the young boy that came out there last week or 2 weeks ago? Cosmic Chris and all these. They came up off of Sarnetta education.
Zion and that one, what's his name? Zion White.
One of them funny name.
There's a whole new pseudo crew.
Come on, man. It's a baby pseudo crew born every day over there in the House of Con Art, but you ain't heard that from me. I'm just saying.
Yes, sir.
Just saying, you know, and that's from me. Don't look. So messages out there. Don't come at anybody else. Don't call Unc. Don't call nobody else in the crew. I said that. Just so you know. Pseudo killer official.
I'ma always say Saw keeps giving me.
I mean, I don't want them to be trying to blame everybody else and all that. No, I said that.
Saw keep giving me
I stand on that.
I'm gonna chew it up and eat it out. And let me shout out to Napa. Napa, I haven't forgotten you, their opponent, my dear interlocutor.
You talking about our friend? You talking about our friend Napa?
Our friend Napa.
What's up, Napa?
The one from Muppet Show.
Come on through. Hey, Napa, you welcome to join the panel anytime you want, girl. Come on over.
I have not forgotten you. However, giving you due respect, I have formally dived all the way in. And now it's going to be worse than we thought. But in due time.
Hold on, you ain't going to embarrass her, as you said.
Of course I will. That goes without saying.
I don't even want to say what else you go. I don't even want to go down there because you liable to say anything. I ain't gonna mess. Hold on. Let me put the. Hey, for any children watching right now, man. If your children is watching, hey, just
shout out to West African YDNA EM2. I saw Gary Hart in there. I saw my brother
My boy Gary,
Gauss,
yeah.
From then till now. Shout out Herbert
Yeah.
Gauss. Peace, peace. How much people we got in the building?
Salute to Mika one. Salute to Mika
Oh,
one.
Mika one. I saw Mika indeed. Oh yeah, we got my brother Sabio in the building.
Sabio, straight soldier in the building, man.
Straight soldier. There ain't no joke about that. I'm gonna get ready to share my screen. I think it's about time we get it in.
Okay.
Let me
Hold
get
on.
back.
I think we got about 30 in it. We can't get about 40. Let's get 40.
Yeah,
Let's get 40 in there. I
come
gotta
on,
share it to the
sum up the show.
I
Sum
gotta
up
get
the show. Share the show, like the show, help the algorithm out.
let me see. Yeah.
This is a worthy effort.
Share that to the
Mika
Discord.
one in the building.
Everybody in the Discord, man. Come on through, man. Come on through. Let us know you're in there, man.
Hey, listen, this is Kick Dog Kent, Pseudo Killer Official. He's more pseudo killer official than I am, MM7K. Don't get it twisted. Man, you don't want no smoke with Kick Dog.
Hey, man, I'm just a civilian, man, trying to do a good deed. I'm righteous. I'm righteous. I'm just trying to do a good deed and bring the information to my people, man.
Pseudo Killer Official, the Black Widow herself.
Oh, man, Tiffany, shout out to Tiffany, the security, top flight security in the building. She gonna make sure we don't, you know what I mean, cross no boundaries that don't need to be crossed.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes we get out of, you know how men do. You know, we get out of line.
I'm a P's and Q's now.
Need a little bit of tightening up. So salute to Miss Tiff for keeping us in line.
I'm gonna get my last wrap too tight in.
Yeah, as long as we don't say no other words, we good. I think we good with the words we said so far. We ain't gonna cross no boundaries.
Yes, sir. Y'all hit the like button, get those likes all the way up. Help the algorithm get 40 people in here before we start to do this.
Mandingo, we're gonna drop the link later on, man. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're gonna get to drop the link.
Stop being thirsty, man.
Yeah, man. We're gonna drop the link. Let me get my work in. Let me put my work in.
Let him do his thing. They said, I think they ready, man. I think we got about 40,000 in the building right now. We good.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. Don't forget, thumb up the show, share the show. We appreciate you in the building. You could have been anywhere else, but now it's time. It's long overdue. I think it's time to do what we need to do. And I'm not going to say put a whooping, but an education on Neftali. Let me share my screen.
Hey, man, Dinka, stop being so sensitive, man. You throw shots all the time. Hold on. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, they throw shots all the time. All the pseudo killers is dumb. They pseudo this, that, and the third. I thought it was show business, man. Let's be show business. If it's show business, I said
it's all show business. You ain't hear me complain. I ain't saying nothing about being in no straight jacket like a monkey.
I think I'm saying what everybody thinking right now. You know, go ahead.
Yeah, I ain't Grace Gilligan. I'm Gilligan. It's all good. No, I'm the professor on Gilligan's Island. It's all good. You ain't hear me complaining. But when I take out the big guns, I don't want to hear nobody crying either. Is my screen sharing, good sir? Let's this stand start.
Yes, indeed. Let's get to this knowledge, though, man. That's what we came here for. You know, we just joking around a little bit. But, you know, pseudo killers is all about the knowledge, man, and getting the education out. So go ahead, say it. Go ahead and rock it.
All right. Let's get it in. As of course, we know RNA, reality, and rhetoric. The science James Tour ignores, addressing Neftali and her wild claims. She did last presentation there on Sonetta, again calling the pseudo killers out, and she was all up in James' tour. And we're gonna see what she knows, what she doesn't know, and we're simply gonna teach the subject a little bit more coherently. She was all over the place, had no idea what she was talking about. She's gonna have to answer a couple of questions before she can sit opposite me. So we're gonna get that out. We're gonna get all these questions out during this presentation. So make sure you got your notepads out, get your popcorn, get yourself a tall glass to drink. This is a college-style lecture. Get prepared. All right, let's go to the preface. In contemporary discourse, particularly where science and faith intersect, creationist interpretations frequently attempt to challenge established scientific understanding. In cosmology, separate, abiogenesis, subject on its own, and biological evolution. However, these challenges often stem not from new evidence or rigorous critique, but from foundational misunderstanding of scientific principles, misrepresentation of evidence, and reliance on gaps in current knowledge as opportunities to insert supernatural explanations, a strategy commonly known as the God of the gaps fallacy. We've said this many times. In cosmology, creationist arguments typically mischaracterize scientific models like the Big Bang, either by insisting they require divine intervention or by misapplying thermodynamic laws to discredit them. These objections ignore the mathematical robustness and empirical support of modern cosmology and often conflate philosophical questions of why the universe exists with scientific inquiries into how it evolves. Regarding abiogenesis, creationist reasoning tends to equate current gaps in our understandings of life's origin with evidence of impossibility. Clueless, clueless. This argument from ignorance fails to grasp the scientific models that are provisional, testable, and continually refined. No absolute proclamations, not absolute proclamations. Moreover, abiogenesis is a field distinct from evolution. Again, abiogenesis is a field distinct from evolution, Neftali. And the failure to differentiate the two reflects a common conflation that undermines meaningful critique. In the domain of evolution, creationist objections often misrepresent Darwinian mechanism, distort fossil evidence, and ignore the massive body of collaborating data from genetics, embryology, and biogeography. Terms like just a theory. I hope one day I have the pleasure of retiring this type of rhetoric from this community, betray a lack of understanding of scientific terminology, while claims of irreducible complexity or sudden appearance of species rely on discredited or selectively interpreted evidence. Humancies. This preface serves to highlight that creationist critiques are not grounded in scientific method, but rather in theological commitments projected onto science. A meaningful dialogue requires clarity in definitions, honest engagement with evidence, and respect for the methodological naturalism that underpins scientific inquiry. Without these, creationist reasonings remain not scientific alternatives, but a category error masquerading as one. Let's continue. Abiogenesis, the state of the research and the RNA world. Abiogenesis refers to the natural process by which life arose from non-living chemical systems on the early Earth. It is not a single event or theory, but a complex interdisciplinary field involving chemistry, biology, geology, and physics. While the exact pathway remains unresolved, you have no issue in saying that, significant progress has been made in identifying plausible chemical routes that could have led from simple molecules to self-replicating systems. Prebiotic chemistry, key concepts in modern abiogenesis research. Prebiotic chemistry. Studies have demonstrated how simple molecules like methane, ammonia, hydrogen cyanide, and formaldehyde, abundant on early Earth, can give rise to amino acids, nucleotides, and simple sugars under conditions mimicking primordial environment. For example, hydrothermal vents, volcanic pools, and UV-rich atmospheres. The RNA world hypothesis, this is something that somehow Neftali seems to not mention, but claims to have a new school of observational, whatever, bullshit. But anyway, RNA world hypothesis. One of the leading models proposed that RNA preceded DNA and proteins as the first self-replicating molecule due to its ability to both store genetic information and catalyze chemical reactions as ribozymes. Key milestones in support of this hypothesis include the successful synthesis of RNA nucleotides under prebiotic conditions. For example, the Sutherland and colleagues 2009 and the Powner and colleagues 2009. Ribozymes that can catalyze their own replication, albeit imperfectly, discovery of catalytic activity in RNA, supporting the idea of an early RNA-based metabolism. Okay, ribozymes, that word, you see the ZYMES, indicates an enzyme. What an enzyme does is catalyze a process. So it speeds up a reaction that would take very, very long. It shortens the time. RNA has the unique characteristics as we see in mRNA. It can be used as a transportation tool for genetic information, and also in cells which contain ribosomes, which have ribozymes, they also have the catalytic function. This is an established fact. Good. Protocells. Researchers have also created membrane-bound vesicles, lipid bilayers that can encapsulate RNA and small molecules, stimulating primitive cell-like structures. You have a bilipid pair. It's around an RNA, which is in the cell, creating a quote-unquote primitive nuclei, and with small molecules, cell-like structures that could grow, divide, and selectively incorporate useful molecules from their environment. Protocells, not a bacteria that has mitochondria and all the facets of a well-developed system millions of years ago. When you ask these infantile questions, they can't even produce a bacteria. Why would we be able to produce a bacteria? We're looking at the genesis, right? So you're going to the proto, the most simple possible. And now you do not have 4 billion years to evolve, which the majority of our existence was bacteria, over 3 billion plus years. If you would do some basic research, you would understand this. Metabolism's first model. Some alternative models focus on autocatalytic chemical cycles that could have preceded genetic information, possibly given rise to metabolism before replication. For example, the work of Wachterschauer and Kaufman. Now, let's get to James Tour. Let's find out who he is. James Tour, a synthetic organic chemist and Christian apologist, has gained notoriety in creationist circles for his rhetorical dismissal of abiogenesis research. While an accomplished chemist in his own right, Tour's critique are fundamentally flawed and widely criticized by experts in origin of life research. We have a classic example of a false appeal to authority, both by this individual himself and by our misled too tight, wrapped too tight. His arguments fall into several categories of misrepresentation. Now let's listen to see who Mr. Tour is and what type of rhetoric comes out of his orifices.
It seems bizarre to me how life could originate from non-life. For the past 2
Argument
years,
from incredulity.
Debate raging on the internet. Are we clueless about the origin of life? I'd really recommend James Tour. He's a synthetic chemist at Rice University. Tour points out that we're getting nowhere with origin of life research.
This is a bunch of nonsense. The whole area
area is a scam and has called out by name the 10 top origin of life researchers in the world. People I'm appealing to are people in the origin of life community, and challenge them on YouTube to contradict him. Just answer one, and I'll take down all my content. And it's been crickets. None of them could answer those questions. And then Tour goes in with his trained, synthetic chemist mind. He says, this chemistry is not replicating the early Earth. What they're doing is buying chemicals from a chemical provider. He bought it. And then doing highly contrived experiments in the lab under conditions that you could not achieve on the early Earth because they need more funding. And the fact that the other side isn't coming back and saying, oh, yes, we can, and here's a simple reaction, you can reproduce this reaction in your lab, that tells me that they don't have a response to Tour.
Mind you, that rhetoric was from a Christian apologist, not a scientist. No clue what he's talking about. And I play that so you can hear how clueless they sound. We're not pulling any punches. Not hiding up. Debunking J. Thor's claim. Argument from personal incredulity. You heard it in the beginning. I can't believe, I can't imagine. Thor frequently claims that no one understands how life could arise naturally and that origins of life researchers are clueless. This is not a scientific rebuttal. It is an argument from incredulity based on his personal unfamiliarity with the field rather than a subjective critique. In fact, Thor is not a specialist in prebiotic chemistry systems, systems chemistry, or molecular evolution. His expertise in synthetic nanomaterials does not equip him to make authoritative judgment about the entire field of abiogenesis. And again, our good friend who was on this panel, Dr. Dave Faringo, Professor Dave Faringo, debated this man, completely dismantled him, and he was embarrassed at Harvard, as you see later on in this presentation. This is what Naftali is bringing to the community.
Of looking at this data, I am going after the people that do not read the scientific literature. That, to me, is what I want to do. And just so that you know, I'm not a YouTube guy like this guy is. I sit in my office and I work very hard at this. I'll turn on my camera, and my camera is on, and I forgot to have the sound turned on properly. It takes me hundreds of hours to do a series like that. I can certainly write articles in that amount of time. I've chosen to use the speaking critiques because they're full of lies, so I'll lie to the public instead.
Can't publish his work. God wants to challenge scientists on YouTube. And quite frankly, you're going to hear later on, his arguments, his whole position is non sequitur, irrelevant. It doesn't warrant a response. Just like Naftali doesn't warrant a response, but we're the pseudo killers, so we take every opportunity to teach. Don't call me out, child. Debunking James Thor's claim. 2, misrepresentation of RNA research. Thor often claims that RNA synthesis is too complex to occur under prebiotic conditions and that it requires an orchestrated laboratory setup. Reality. Researchers like John Sutherland, Gerald Joyce, and Jack Scottstock have published groundbreaking work demonstrating plausible stepwise pathways to the formation of RNA nucleotides and their polymerization in realistic prebiotic settings. Fauner and colleagues in 2009, for example, showed a pathway to synthesize ribonucleotides without requiring ribosomes or nucleobases as separate precursors. Studies have shown that wet-dry cycles, UV light, and mineral surfaces can facilitate the formation of and litigation of RNA strands, supporting the feasibility of an RNA-first world. Thor ignores or downplays this process, cherry-picking challenges like chirality and strand degradation, while ignoring proposed solution and ongoing advances. He's just scamming. And that's exactly what Neftali would have been doing would she have had a sufficient basis to actually understand the rhetoric she's bringing to the table. Equivocation on life and information. Tor conflates the emergence of life with the sudden appearance of a fully functional modern cells, like I just was explaining, including DNA-based genetics and complex proteins. Bacteria have complex proteins. That's not what you're looking for in the early stages of life. They have not produced it in the laboratory. They can't produce a bacteria in the laboratory. I'm doing my best, Naftali. I'm sorry. Abiogenesis does not claim that modern cells emerge spontaneously. Rather, it investigates gradual chemical evolution from simple replicators and metabolic cycles to protocells and protocells over hundreds of millions of years. Tor also invokes metaphysical notions of information. For example, where did the information in DNA come from? My bro, fold, protein, strands. DNA represents proteins. The amount of folds determines what the protein length is. Functionality for the protein means it's being selected for. Without acknowledging that information content in genetic system can arise via selection, replication errors, and environmental pressures, even in prebiotic systems. That is what is so grounding about reality. These conditions, these pressures, they go all the way down, they come all the way up, as you see in the further deliberation. Debunking James Torr's claim, lack of peer review or refutation. He doesn't publish this nonsense in any credible journals. He publishes, you guess where, creationist magazines, Discovery Institute, and the like. Lack of peer review refutation. Despite his YouTube popularity, Tor has not published any peer-reviewed scientific papers debunking abiogenesis models. His critiques are mostly found in popular talks, blogs, and videos aimed at lay religious audiences, not scientists, aimed at lay religious audiences like Rap Too Tight, aka Neftali, Nutter Butter Nuts Neftali, not scientists. By contrast, Origins of Life researchers publish their findings in top journals, for example, Nature, Science, PNAS, engaging in transparent peer-reviewed disclosure. I'm going to play a couple of minutes from this piece here for you to get an accurate reflection of what the field thinks of James Tor. Dr. Roland Wright, Origins of Life researcher.
Texas. I don't know if you're familiar with him, James Tour. He's a synthetic chemist who stepped into Origin of Life to tell him all some sort of usually like sort of angry looking sort of. Yes, he's a very loud critic that he thinks he's famous for saying that we are clueless about abiogenesis. Like he's got very intense rhetoric about it. He's not an Origin of Life researcher himself. He's a synthetic chemist. But I asked him about amyloids. And he said he was going to look into it. I sent him a few papers about it for citations, and then he never responded back to me. Weeks later, somebody asked him about the amyloid world hypothesis in like a video that he was doing for an interview, and that's the only time I've ever seen him talk about amyloids. It's like 2 minutes, and I wanted to know if I could show you him talking about it, and you could, I could hear your thoughts about it. If you're comfortable with that, okay, let's begin.
What he does is he says, okay, in amyloids, they don't need to fold. They can fold, they can get into their position naturally. And he argues that you don't need that, you can just use a subset. You can just use
fair use for educational purposes.
Use 10 of the amino acids. You don't need the other 10 amino acids that have functional side chains. Nobody has ever shown that you can get away with just 10 of the amino acids.
So I'll just pause right there because there were kind of 2 points that he brought up. I'm confused about him saying amyloids don't fold, because an amyloid is like a secondary structure of, like, it's an amyloid fold, right? So do you think maybe, would it be fair to say that when an amyloid is self-templating and a second amyloid sheet is growing on top of a template, would you say that that is a process of folding, or is that a formation without protein folding?
I mean, a lot of people call an amyloid a misfold. That's because the protein that has a certain function folds into a different state that it loses the function, and that is associated with a disease. And I'm not sure whether that mixes that up, because of course the peptide folds if it is in the amyloid.
I thought it was pretty obvious, like, that anything with a secondary structure, it's a protein fold. So it just seems like, by definition, an amyloid is a folded protein.
Yes, of course. I'm not sure what he meant. I think he might mean that they are so simple that they don't have to go through as many contortions as you picture something of a large protein having to go through. So, AlphaFold now can predict these crazy complex things that we couldn't calculate even, or if we tried to calculate them, we needed a dedicated supercomputer for a couple of years to solve one. Whereas the problem of how the protein adopts its fold is complicated. An amyloid is, by definition, simpler, and I shouldn't say by definition. An amyloid can be very simple by definition, and that's what's attractive to them as a prebiotic entity, because almost any peptide can adopt them and thereby attain many of these functions we're interested in. So saying it folds or doesn't fold is really semantics, which aren't really interesting at this point. It's a question of what he wants to say, I think. I don't know what's coming next about what does the fold have to do with it.
Okay, let's hear it.
And he argues that you don't need you can just use a subset. You can just use 10 of the amino acids. You don't need the other 10 amino acids that have functional side chains. Nobody has ever shown that you can get away with just 10 of the amino acids.
Is this not what your 2016 paper showed, where you can form amyloids using, I think you used, 7 amino acid residues in that paper?
So I think he might, James Tour is, I think, referring to something else. An amyloid can form from a single amino acid. You can take polyvaline and it'll form something like an amyloid.
In other words, he has no clue what he is talking about. This is what Naftali brings to the community. Conclusion: science marches on. Abiogenesis remain an open but increasingly understood frontier. While questions remain, James Tour's portrayal of the field as hopelessly lost is demonstrably false. His arguments rely on rhetorical tactics, selective misunderstanding, and appeals to ignorance rather than scientific analysis. Meanwhile, researchers continue to make strides in understanding how chemistry gave rise to biology without invoking supernatural. The path from molecules to metabolism to memory-bearing replicators is complex, but it is within the domain of natural law. Tour's failure is not that he questions science, is that he refuses to engage it on its own terms. Neftali's problem is much bigger. She has no clue what she's talking about and is misguided and bringing misinformation to the community. Gonna stop sharing my screen for a second. Got anything to say before we go into the second presentation? Welcome the God Killer to the building.
Hey man, great job, man. I like that angle. I like the way you focused on that individual there, bro.
Yes, indeed.
The white dude. Yeah, he was definitely playing in front of our face. Appreciate that, yo. That's excellent, man. I like that. It's like the 5 deadly venoms, yo. Get that piece. Yeah, that's good work.
I appreciate it. So that's out the window. No James Tour anymore. No debunked. No appeal to false authority. He is not a credible source in this conversation of abiogenesis, and he makes no arguments whatsoever that is coherent in undermining evolution. Now we got to teach this young lady some evolution. When you ready, share my screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. God, you got anything to add before I continue?
Hold on. One more thing. We want to shout some more people out in the building, man.
Go right ahead.
Miss Lisa, I see you, girl. What's going on?
Hey, good to see you.
Strong supporter, man. Strong supporter. Big chill in the building. What's happening, man? Pseudo killer official. You know what I mean? Who else we had came in before while you was on, yo? Scarab Chronicles. We see you, Gideon. What's happening?
Peace. Pseudo killer.
I think they might have been in here a little bit or whatever, but yeah, just wanted to shout some more people out that was coming in.
I appreciate that. And I'm gonna ask you to hit the like button, get that algorithm going. Pseudo killers and the community of skeptics. Make sure you subscribe and share it in your Facebook, in your back chat groups. Get everybody in here. Call Neftali. She needs a front row in Tennessee. Yeah. Somebody call Neftali.
Say a name a couple times, Joe. They'll pop up. That's how it works.
Neftali. Where you at?
Eric Graham, what's up with you, boy?
Eric, yeah. Right, peace. Shout out to Eric. So you got anything else to add, God Killer?
I just want to say, big up the Black Panther, man. I appreciate you, Shorty. I ain't seen you in a while. Good to see you in the chat, man. Doing your thing.
Miss Felicia.
Oh, we got your boy in the building.
Yeah, he get his time at the B. He get a chance to come up on Mount Olympus.
Keep on climbing. We gonna get you. We gonna get you when you reach the top, man.
All right. So let's get it. This whole back and forth. Let's be honest. It's about creationism. It's about intelligent design wrapped up in one. They flim-flamming either way. DNA. Let's start there. I'm gonna do this presentation. I had this work coming for someone else, but if you just switch out the name, it remains the same thing. In DNA, intelligent design or blind evolution. Tonight, I will demonstrate that intelligent design is not a scientific theory, but a pseudo-scientific claim based on assumptions, not evidence. It lacks a mechanism, makes no falsifiable prediction, and does not follow the scientific method. But before we even examine its flaws, we must first clarify what intelligent design is actually claiming. By its very name, intelligent design asserts that an intelligent agent designed life. But what is intelligence? Intelligence requires agency, the ability to think, plan, and act with intent. A hurricane follows complex physical laws, but it has no intelligence. DNA replication follows biochemical rules, but has no intent. Nature operates through blind processes, not conscious planning. So here's my challenge to Nutter Butternuts, aka Rap Too Tight Neftali. Who or what is this designer? Science is based on testable, measurable data. So name the designer and provide objective evidence of its existence. And no, for the Bible tells me so isn't evidence. That's a Sunday school song. What is the mechanism then by which means the designer created life? Evolution has clear mechanisms: mutation, natural selection, genetic drift, gene duplication, all of which we can observe. Remember, observation, that is what we actually do. It is not a new thing, Neftali. It is at the foundation. There must be a there. There must be something we observe. And that is not necessarily with our limited senses. Don't get that confused. What does intelligent design offer? Can ID make a falsifiable prediction? No. Real scientific theories generate predictions that can be tested. You see that word there, prediction, that goes hand in hand with the scientific theory? It's because it goes like this. All the data that I've collected, all the experiments that I've done, leads me to this and this and this and these conclusions. And if these and these conclusions are correct, We must be able to find that and that and that and that at such and such a place or in such and such a time at such and such a depth. The prediction that seals the deal. That's what makes it hard and not just a flimps of your imagination. What experiments can we conduct to confirm intelligent design? This is what it's all about, right here.
There's always been a fundamental difference between
Discovery science,
creationism or creation science and intelligent design approach to biology. Now, one, creation science begins with an understanding of the Genesis account and tries to reconcile that to scientific data.
That's not how science works. You don't try to fit science into your narrative. You follow the science and see if how your narrative matches up. They're doing it the opposite way around.
Scientific observation. The other begins really with an unpolluted, unembellished version of science, which is simply that science is the use of observation and reason to come to true understanding of.
Doesn't that sound like Neftali? Ain't she echoing this European? Because they like to make that claim, right? Right, man? Isn't she echoing this particular European?
The world. So intelligent design does nothing other than take a science view in its simplest form and apply it to the world and the living world in particular. When you do that, you end up being forced by reason and observation to this conclusion that living things are designed.
You see the backwards thinking right there. All right. Now let's contrast intelligent design with evolution, which is testable, observable, and backed by overwhelming evidence. We can see evolution happening in real time. Bacteria evolve resistance to antibiotics. Lenski in 2012. Viruses mutate and adapt, requiring new vaccines. Genetic studies confirm common ancestry, such as humans and chimpanzees sharing 98.8% of their DNA. Chimpanzee Genome Project, 2005, not the Humanzee Project. If life were designed, we should see flawless engineering. Yet, we find the opposites. Humans have broken genes, such as the GOLO gene, a pseudogene, which prevents us from making vitamin C, something that most other mammals can do. Why would an intelligent designer give us a malfunctioning gene? Think about it. The recurrent laryngeal nerve in giraffe takes a completely unnecessary detour from the brain to the larynx because it evolved from from structures in our fish ancestry. Vestigial organs like the appendix and tailbone serve little to no function today, but makes perfect sense under evolution. There is no design choices. They are evolutionary leftovers. Another fallacy claims ID push. Another fallacious claim ID push is the so-called macro versus micro evolution distinction. Oh my! Oh, and they do it over and over. Let that be done after tonight. They admit microevolution, small changes within species, but they deny macroevolution as if there is some visible barrier stopping small changes from adding up over time. But that's nonsense. Speculation has been observed in speciation has been observed in real time. Bacteria evolving new traits. In school, we actually put a gene PUC19 into E. coli, and E. coli produced saccharose as a byproduct. We did that in school. Mosquitoes forming new species. We talked about that forever. The German War, mosquitoes underground, they evolved to have no eyes and could no longer survive above ground. We talked about it. And crickets adapted in ways that prevent interbreeding. The fossil record is filled with transitional forms like Tiktaalik and Archaeopteryx, and genetics confirm large-scale evolution through shared retroviruses and chromosome fusion. We're going to talk about these things. The truth, macro is just micro over time. Creationists rely on word games to ignore the overwhelming evidence. Even Michael Behe, a leading figure in intelligent design, admitted in court during the Dover trial 2005 that intelligent designs make no testable prediction and fails as a scientific theory. Behe's argument of irreducible complexity, again, we'll get into that, the idea that some biological systems are too complex to have evolved, has been debunked. Scientists have shown that structures like the bacterial flagellum can evolve through gradual changes, contradicting intelligent design's claims. So why are we here? 2005, 20 years later, we're having these same outdated conversations because people refuse to grow up, or their false wig is wrapped too tight. I don't know. DNA, intelligently designed or blind evolution. So I'm asking you again, Neftali, who is the designer and where is the testable, measurable evidence of its existence? What mechanism does the designer use to create complexity? What falsifiable prediction does intelligent design make? You see, the fact of the matter is, if God was to come down today, right now, in evolution would still be a matter of fact. That is the mechanism by which complexity arose. If my opponent cannot answer these questions with real scientific data, then intelligent design is not an alternative to evolution. It is an argument from ignorance. And we have seen the ignorance exponentially that tries to insert a designer where science has gaps. But science doesn't work by assuming answers. It works by testing, observing, and refining our understanding. The verdict is clear. Evolution is a fact. Intelligent design is not science. So why are you on these panels claiming to be science and science? Y'all screenshot the sources. More here. They're going to be recurring during this presentation. Let's go. How DNA evolved. So she keeps talking about abiogenesis, confusing it into the whole conversation and going back and forth and primordial soup without actually engaging in the information. As you saw, she never mentions the RNA world, RNA synthesis, or that process by which you can see early development. The chemical evolution of nucleotides. The first step in DNA's evolution is the formation of nucleotides, the building blocks of DNA. These nucleotides do not require an intelligent designer. They emerge through chemical evolution under conditions found in early Earth. 4 point how much billion years? The Earth has undergone many a transformation. Most of our species has died out. So you can never expect that the conditions of Earth today resemble anything 3 point something billion years ago. In 1953, the Miller-Urey experiment demonstrated that when gases thought to be present in early Earth's atmosphere, such as methane, ammonia, and hydrogen, were exposed to electrical sparks, simulating lightning, they formed organic molecules, including amino acids and nucleotides. Miller and Urey, 1953. This is the primordial soup that you keep misrepresenting. More recent studies have shown that hydrothermic vents, hot, mineral-rich environments found on ocean floors, what we have today, right now, currently, could have served as natural reactors producing nucleotides and simple organic molecules. They start simple and you have time. They replicate. Those that are successful and they fold into functioning proteins that can be replicated are replicated. Meteorites have also been found containing nucleobases and ribosome sugars, further proving that these components can form naturally in space and reach Earth. Now, if they can form in space under those conditions, why can't they form on Earth also in early Earth conditions? This evidence destroys the claim that DNA components require designer. They emerge spontaneously under the right conditions because these are ongoing processes. Let's see if this simplifies this for you. Naftali, are you looking?
RNA is a fascinating molecule with several important roles in biology. It acts both as a genetic material and as a catalyst in biological reactions. This dual function is central to theories about the origin of life, such as the RNA world hypothesis, which proposes that early life forms might have relied solely on RNA to store genetic information and to catalyze chemical reactions before DNA and protein enzymes evolved. This makes RNA a critical piece in understanding the evolution of life on Earth. If the RNA world hypothesis is accurate, it simplifies our understanding of the early biochemical systems. It implies that early life could have relied only on RNA to carry out the tasks that are divided among multiple molecules such as DNA, RNA, and proteins in modern cells.
You see the distinction between early formation of cells and modern cells? Millions of years of evolution in between. You can't force all these into one little misunderstanding. Your whole diatribe, you don't mention RNA, you don't understand these processes. Second, the transition from RNA to DNA. Before DNA exists, life likely used RNA as a primary genetic material. It is known as the RNA world hypothesis. Why? Because RNA has two key properties. Now, this is the second time we're going over this, so at the end of this, we're not doing this again. It can store genetic information just like DNA. What did we learn during the pandemic? We use what? The RNA, messenger RNA, hijacks the cell natural ability to take that messenger RNA by means of ribosome, translate that into the protein that the cell requires. RNA itself is then a piece of genetic material. It can catalyze chemical reactions. Ribosomes are what? RNA. It catalyzes the process like proteins do, meaning it could have self-replicated in early life forms. Church, 1986. But over time, RNA was replaced by DNA as a primary genetic storage molecule. Why? DNA is more stable than RNA. Why viruses mutate at such a high rate is because they're RNA based, and you can see RNA's reliability and its efficacy is low, again indicating a natural process. You get far more mutations in RNA than you would get in DNA. Into viruses today. Retroviruses like HIV use an enzyme called reverse transcriptase to convert RNA into DNA inside host cells. This proves that the transition from RNA to DNA is biochemically possible and still occurs today. Again, Naftali, no designer was needed. It was a natural process of molecular evolution. I expect my exponent to argue that DNA is too complex to evolve naturally. But I've just shown that the complexity arises incrementally through mutations, selections, and duplications. We've never seen DNA form spontaneously in a lab. That's a misleading argument. Do it over and over. Early Earth conditions were vastly different from today, and research is still ongoing. How do you think we can reproduce in a lab the conditions of early Earth? How? It's
Yeah, that's
almost
crazy.
impossible.
I hate when everybody say whenever anybody say like, oh, they can't reproduce that or they can't do that again. So I mean when somebody like that's illogical.
Illogical. The odds of DNA forming naturally are too low. This is a misrepresentation of probability. Life had millions of years and an entire planet's worth of chemical reactions. Given enough time and condition, complexity inevitably emerge. We see this in everything from snowflakes to galaxies. Like Ankh says, evolution is both a theory and a fact. Look around you. Look at your kids. Look at your siblings. It just is. Get over it. The evidence overwhelmingly supports DNA's evolution. DNA did not come into existence fully formed, nor does it show signs of being intelligently designed. Instead, chemical evolution naturally formed nucleotides. No designer was needed. RNA evolved first, then DNA emerged as a more stable alternative. This transition is still observable in viruses today. Mutations, gene duplication, and natural selection explain how DNA increased in complexity, with countless examples of hemoglobin evolution to viral adaptation. Irreducible complexity is a myth. DNA shows clear stepwise evolution, not instant creation. Science provides a coherent, you see that word, Neftali? Coherent, evidence-based explanation for DNA's evolution. Neftali, on the other hand, has only arguments from ignorance and begging the question, if DNA was what makes cells, and cells need DNA to make cells, then how did you get the cells without the DNA? Come on. Is this science? This belief. But history has shown science actually fills the gaps. There is no reason to believe that DNA is any different. Let's continue. Oh, let me go back to those sources. They're all referenced in the slides. Go back, slow them down, screenshot them, fact check me, do your show, whatever it is you got to do.
Already, let them know again, Sid. Tell you came prepared, yo.
Imperfections in DNA prove evolution, not design. Life is governed by chemical reactions and natural law, not by a designer. I'm going to emphasize this tonight so that it is clear. Every biological function, DNA replication, protein synthesis, metabolism, and cellular respiration operate through well understood biochemical and physical processes without the need for supernatural intervention. I'm sorry, your sky daddy has no role to play here. The complexities we see in living organisms emerge from random mutation, natural selection, genetic drift, and environmental pressures, shaping species over millions of years through trial and error rather than conscious planning. If life were intelligently designed, you would be much more intelligent, my dear. Yet we see inefficiencies, your inability to reason, redundancies, your inability to think logically, and genetic errors such as the GOLO pseudogene in humans, the recurrent laryngeal nerve in giraffe, and vestigial structures like your hair extension, the appendix. There are remnants of evolutionary past, not hallmarks of intelligent design, Neftali. Intelligent design fails because it offers no testable mechanism. That's why you can't present a coherent presentation. You're rambling all over the place. Makes no falsifiable predictions. We rely on your personal anecdotal claims. And quite frankly, with your rap too tight, you sound nothing but a crazy. I would not rely on your anecdotal claims, not even if you had it in your hand. They rely purely on the assumptions that complexity requires a design. Just arbitrary. Evolution, on the other hand, is directly observed in bacteria developing antibiotic resistance, viruses evolving, and genetic adaptation in populations over generations. Something most of these pseudos in this community have no understanding of what evolution means in a population. In a population, it's a slow process to get to what you see there now. What you see there now is the result of thousands of years of people having sex in that particular spot that didn't go nowhere for thousands of years, making them indigenous, regardless of their phenotype and their genetic makeup. Get with it. Stop the nonsense. Science provides an explanation based on evidence and natural processes, while intelligent designs offers nothing but an argument from ignorance. I had to take a shot in the dark there. I just had to.
If Darwin came back today, what would he be most excited by in modern science? I think it would be the whole world of genetics. That's the answer to all the big questions he had. How does variation emerge? And how could that be transmitted?
Let's return to our brown bears stranded in the Arctic to consider the impact of genetics on our understanding of evolution. Each bear is made up of cells, and if we take a brown bear cell and tunnel into its nucleus, we find DNA, the molecule with the genetic instructions for building, in this case, a brown bear, written in a 4-letter code. Now, the thing about DNA, it's not perfect. When it's copied, mistakes get made. Mutations, in other words, that sometimes affect an organism's traits and that sometimes can be passed from parent to offspring. So the variation at the heart of evolution, it's genetic variation. Slight differences in DNA that, for example, could make some bears a bit lighter in color, a bit more insulated against the cold, and a bit more capable of digesting fattier foods like seals.
Evolution is essentially any change in the genetic composition of a population.
Mutations are random, so they're not always helpful, but the bears with mutations that gave them some advantage for Arctic living survived and reproduced more often than bears without them. They passed the genes responsible for those adaptations onto their cubs. Over generations, more bears inherited and elaborated on these and other changes in the DNA. The eventual result, a polar bear. And when we tunnel into its cells, we find polar bear DNA. Think of DNA as the raw material that, across billions of years, evolution has molded and built into countless forms of life. We are all related, tied to one another by the most spectacular of double helical threads.
I hope that visual representation drives it home how that process happened, speciation and over time. Let's continue. Imperfections in DNA prove evolution, not design. Let me see, did I skip anything? No. Junk DNA and genetic errors. Over 98% of the human genome consists of non-coding DNA. ENCODE project in 2012. Much of it is left over from ancient viruses and mutations. If DNA was designed, why must most of non-functional or prone? Why is most of it non-functional or prone to errors? What is junk DNA? Definition: over 98% of the human genome is non-coding, meaning it doesn't directly code for protein. Initially labeled junk because it appeared to serve no functional purpose, research is still showing that much of it has regulatory roles. although a large portion seem to have little or no current function. Viral and mutational origins. A significant portion of non-coding DNA consists of transposable elements, which are sequences of DNA that can change their position within the genome. Many of these elements are remnants of ancient viral infections and mutations that have been inherited over generations. In our genome, there are remnants of viral infections that happen prior to our evolution. In our genome, you've got remnants of viruses that are 10, 12, 15 million years old. We're here 3,000, 300,000 years. How are those remnants in our genome? The day you answer that question is the day you understand evolution. Imperfection in DNA proves evolution or design. The flaws in intelligent design. Why would a designer include non-functional sequences? If DNA were intelligent design, after all, it would likely be expected to be efficient, with all parts serving a clear purpose. The existence of such a large portion of unused or redundant DNA would not make sense if it were designed by an intelligent entity aiming for perfection. As you know, when you talk about design, you go for simplicity. What made the iPhone exceptional is interface and the simplicity with which complex coding could be executed by the touch of an icon. Simplicity is the hallmark of design. To produce one protein, it takes sometimes 4, 5, 6 unnecessary steps, producing hundreds of unnecessary proteins before it can produce the protein that it requires. It is a very inefficient process, not designed, stacked on each other. Errors in the genome, mutations, are a natural part of evolution and occur in both coding and non-coding regions. Many of these mutations lead to genetic disorders or diseases, raising questions about the design of a genome prone to errors. If an intelligent designer were responsible, why would they allow for such imperfections and genetic malfunctions? Look at sickle cell. Okay, it mutated to deal with malaria, but it doesn't provide enough oxygen to the body, causing all kind of enzymatic shutdown, jaundice. It is a terrible illness. Design? Evidence of evolutionary biology. Evolutionary perspective. From a naturalistic standpoint, non-coding DNA is seen as a byproduct of evolutionary processes. It may contain genetic remnants of past adaptations, some of which may no longer be necessary or functional but haven't been eliminated due to their neutral nature. Evolution, unlike a design system, doesn't require perfection. Rather, it favors traits that are beneficial or neutral for survival. The Gulu gene, it was turned off, it became defective in humans, but due to our diet and the fact that we consumed sufficient vitamin C, means that we will continue to reach the age of reproduction and we produce offspring that contain this defective gene that did not lead to our extinction because we got the necessary vitamin C from our environment. This is the reason why humans get scabies, because we cannot synthesize vitamin C. Yet here we are, top of the food chain. Junk DNA as evidence of evolution. Some non-coding DNA appear to have evolved over time through processes like genetic drift or adaptation to changing environments. the fact that large portions of the genome seem to be remnants of ancient viruses or random mutations supports the idea that evolution, not intelligent design, a creator, or whatever, is responsible for the current structure of the genome. Naftali, you still with me? You still here? It's not going over your head yet, right? You can slow it down and listen to it again. I'm sure first you need to deal with your emotional, breakdown that there's no designer, there's no creator. Intelligent design proponents argue that junk DNA is waiting to be discovered. However, many cases of non-coding DNA are indeed being found to serve regulatory functions or participate in gene expression, but the idea that every piece of non-coding DNA has a clear function is still far from established. Why would a designer use leftover material? If a designer truly optimized the genome, there will be no room for junk DNA or genetic flaws. The presence of ancient viral remnants, Naftali, transposable elements, and so much seemingly non-functional DNA weakens the claim of a purposeful, intelligent designer. He would be quite stupid a designer at that. I just mentioned this. See, it's just in my head. The broken vitamin C gene, pseudo-GULO gene, the broken GULO gene in humans is a prime example of evolution, not design. You would say a mutation happens. Usually, a mutation that is negative, you die off. Causes disease, you not reach the age of reproduction. Vitamin C, as we know, is essential to human existence. We see scurvies, etc., when we are not consuming it. How did we survive with a defective gene? Let's examine. This gene responsible for vitamin C synthesis became non-functional in humans and other primates due to a mutation in their evolutionary past. Here's why. Mutation and pseudogenes. At some point, a mutation in our common ancestor disabled the GULO gene. So now if the GULO gene is disabled in multiple species, that means that the common ancestor is where that gene went defective, because it didn't go defective individually in all the animals. We would see it at different places in the genome. This mutation didn't significantly affect survival because early primates obtained vitamin C in their diets. Early primates, prior to human evolution. How do we have the broken GULO gene? Evolutionary evidence, the presence of a non-functional gene, pseudogene, is evidence of evolution, not intelligent design. If humans were designed, they'd likely have a working GULO gene, won't you think, Naftali? Like most other mammals? A dog has a functioning GULO gene. A lion has a functioning GULO gene. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, but he didn't give us a GULO gene that works. Obsolete functions. The gene was once useful, but became unnecessary as the diet changed. Over time, accumulated mutation without negatively affecting survival, a process that fits perfectly within evolutionary theory. You see it going anywhere, everywhere. Fits perfectly within the model, Naftali. We have a model. That's why there's a coherency and a sequence to this presentation. This example supports evolution by showing how broken genes are remnants of past genetic changes rather than evidence of a design flaw. Stop it. The recurrent laryngeal nerve in giraffe is a perfect example of how evolution works, by modifying existing structures rather than creating new ones from scratch. You build upon the knowledge and to build upon what was successful. And once that becomes successful, reaches the age of reproduction, it continues until the population evolves again. Unnecessary detour. In giraffe, the recurrent laryngeal nerve takes a detour, looping around the aorta before reaching the larynx. This extra distance serves no purpose and is inefficient. Design and inefficiency are not synonymous, especially in such a large animal. Evolutionary legacy. The nerve detour is a remnant of fish ancestry, a giraffe fish ancestry. I've never seen a giraffe turn into a fish, and that's macroevolution. You see a fish, and then it come out of the water, and then it turn into a giraffe. This is the rhetoric you guys employ. Again, we're gonna show it, demonstrate, you understand. In fish, this detour made sense due to their anatomy. However, in land mammals, including giraffe, it's a vestige of a feature that no longer serves its original function. Building on existing structures with design flaw this design flaw isn't evidence of poor design, but rather of evolution building on pre-existing structures. Evolution repurposes old traits rather than designing new ones from scratch. Useless process to do that from scratch. It's not a conservation of energy to go and do things from scratch, which explains why animals like giraffe have inefficient anatomical features like the recurrent laryngeal nerve. This supports the idea that evolution modifies and repurposes old structures over time rather than creating perfect designs as an intelligent designer might be expected to do.
It turns out the laryngeal nerve first evolved in fish-like creatures as a direct link from the brain to gills near the heart. Over millions of generations, this nerve gradually lengthened, each small step always simpler than a major rewiring to a more direct route.
There you go. Imperfection in DNA prove evolution, not design. In summary, intelligent design is not a scientific theory. It is a claim based on assumptions, not evidence. It offers no testable mechanism, makes no falsifiable prediction, and relies on flawed arguments that complexity must require a designer. Meanwhile, evolution provides a clear, well-supported explanation for the diversity of life, backed by genetic, fossil, and direct observational evidence. That's a word that Lefkali likes to use. The new school of observational, and what do you use to explain it? What is your philosophical grounding? God did it. That doesn't explain anything, young lady. Stop. Get help. If the idea were true, we wouldn't expect to see broken genes like the Kulu pseudogene or inefficient designs like the recurrent laryngeal nerve in giraffes. Yet, we do. We also witness evolution in action, such as bacteria developing antibiotic resistance in real time. So I ask you, Neftali, please, what testable mechanism does intelligent design provide for how complexity arises? Again, I tell you, if God was to show up right now, right in this moment, evolution would still be a matter of fact. Why do humans have broken and vestigial genes if DNA was designed? Put it in a test tube. Oh, no, this doesn't work. It's going to malfunction here. Let's fix that. Can you show an example of intelligent design being tested and confirmed through experimentation? Since you have this new school, this new, and we the old heads and all that nonsense you were shouting out your mouth. Show us, Neftali, how your new school actually engages with the data, other than sitting on platforms like Sarnetta, where you get no pushback with your head wrapped too tight, sounding nutter butter nuts. Your projection is amazing. Everything you represent us is, as on your flyer, is what you actually are. You sound like a monkey. And you need to be in a straitjacket. Let's face it. If Natalie cannot answer these questions with empirical evidence, then ID is nothing more than an argument from ignorance. And ignorant you are. Extra. Been calling it, been challenging, been challenging. Now you're going to get the work, you're going to take it. A failed attempt to replace scientific inquiry with fanciful, wishful, childlike, infantile, Sunday school rhetoric and thinking. Grow up. My challenge to Naftali, if DNA is designed, why does it contain so many errors, redundancies, and useless genes? I know you can't give a coherent answer, but it would be funny as hell to see you try. Does an intelligent designer make flawed designs? If so, are we allowed to question his intelligence or its intelligence? Naftali, are we? No, you don't leave me alone. The evolutionary mechanisms of DNA. Evolution is driven by random mutations and natural selection. Bacteria evolved resistance to antibiotics in real time. A direct observation of DNA evolving. Random mutations, DNA mutations are random changes in organisms. You know what? Anyway, if you don't understand this.
This is Lycopodius nulla, a simple creature with a tendency, like any other species, to...
I know it looks like Naftali, but that wasn't with my intent. The eyes, though, you can, but it wasn't.
Reproduce offspring. Offspring. Although the offspring inherit many characteristics of their parents, no two individuals in the population are exactly the same. This variation is vital to the survival of the species, as only a fraction of the Lycopodius will actually...
You see all the Lycopodius, all the variations? All the variations? So within the reproduction of two Lycopodius, they can produce all these variations. And they produce as much variations as possible to give Lycopodius the biggest chance of survival possible.
Good point.
So now watch what the environment does. The environment includes predictability. Go ahead, watch. The environment.
Produce themselves. The result, only those with characteristics best suited for survival in the environment will pass on these successful traits to the next generation. Those with characteristics less suited for the environment are less likely to survive and reproduce.
Pew! One Lycopodius now. Pew! Next Lycopodius.
This is called natural selection.
There you go, natural selection.
Generations, it leads to the
natural selection. The environment, you see, the Lycopodiuses that were exposed, the predators got those because they were easily hunted. Natural selection, the environment. Now, what is the environment? The animals, predation, you're going to see, that's part of natural environment. Predation. Predation happens as a natural selection pressure. Predation.
To build up of favorable characteristics in the population of the species.
See, now in the population, because those that didn't reach the age to reproduce, the green, the red, the one without the right camouflage, their genes did not become prevalent in the population. So now you see that this specific phenotype, which is produced by genes that came from from a primordium that was yellow and green, they are best suited for the environment now. So what came in over time, you see that it changed because of the environment that they're in is going to select for those features that best represent the environment of Northeast Africa. For example, in comparison to the selection pressures that would exist to a population in West Central Africa. Over time, these two populations would become what? Distinct, based on the environmental pressures that they are exposed to. Y'all with me? Y'all here with me still? Stay with me, don't get lost.
The result is a transformation of the population over time to suit its environment.
Oh, damn.
This is known as adaptation.
Adaptation. Those people that came out of the Green Sahara.
Environmental pressures can also change.
Now we see the environment change.
Population exists.
Uh-oh. You were good over there, but you ain't surviving over here. Oh, you're gone. Population diverse. Remember we talked about the population can move and their phenotype can go back and forth. Y'all, put this in your archive. This video, that little 2-minute video, if you don't get after that, ain't nothing more you're going to get. You saw natural selection at work. You saw the process of adaptation. Once a beneficial mutation occurred, natural selections act on it. So now natural selection going to happen because you got this beneficial mutation. It's going to reach the age of reproduction. That's going to become the predominant genes in the population. You see how that population shifted over time? Black Egypt conversation. I ain't having it, but y'all see how we slow it down? You're supposed to get it now. Both sides of y'all need to cut it the hell out. Y'all don't know, y'all have no understanding of evolution. None. Evolutionary mechanisms of DNA, real-time observation. Antibiotic resistance, we talked about it. Now let's demonstrate it.
So what we ended up building was basically a petri dish, except that it's 2 feet by 4 feet. And the way we set it up is that there are 9 bands, and at the base of each of these bands, we put a normal petri dish thick agar with different amounts of antibiotic. On the outside, there's no antibiotic. Just in from that, there's barely more than the E. coli can survive. Inside of that, there's 10 times as much, 100 times, and then finally the middle band has 1,000 times as much antibiotic. And then across the top of it, of course, thin agar that bacteria can move around in. The background is black because there's ink in it, and the bacteria appear as white. First, you see they spread in the area where there's no antibiotic, up until the point they can no longer survive. Then a mutant appears on the right. It's resistant to the antibiotic. It spreads until it starts to compete with other mutants around it. When these mutants hit the next boundary, they too have to pause and develop new mutations to make it into 10 times as much antibiotic. Then you see the different mutants repeat this at 100. And after about 11 days, they finally make it into 1,000 times as much antibiotic as the wild type can survive. And so we can see by this process of accumulating successive mutations that bacteria, which are normally sensitive to an antibiotic, can evolve resistance to extremely high concentrations in a short period of time.
Each one of those colors represent a mutation track. Let's take it back a little bit here. Each one of these colors
Antibiotic
Each one of these colors represent, from the dark blue, you see the evolutionary trajectory. See, from point to point, those are all mutations that are taking place as the concentration of the antibiotics gets stronger and stronger as it moves forward. Each one of those points is a mutation that is happening along the way until you get to the final point where they went from almost zero resistance to the antibiotics to able to resist 1,000 times the concentration. Evolution in real time. You can't deny it. It's in front of your face. No more, no more, no more silly arguments. We're slowing it down. Slowing it down. And we're gonna give you an 8-minute summary pretty soon of putting this all together. You're not gonna be able to deny it. Last, and I'm gonna talk about this before I do a little presentation. Fair use warning again. It's tying it all together. It's a great presentation. Thanks. Shout out to Brother Mac Rob. The evolutionary mechanisms of DNA, COVID-19, and viral evolution. Yeah, we traumatized by COVID-19. Every time we get a chance to talk about it, we will, because we were knee deep, throat deep, nose deep in the manure that was being pushed in this community about this virus and the vaccine that went along with it. A clear example of evolution in action. Viruses, including the SARS-CoV-2, the virus that caused COVID-19, evolved through mutations and natural selection. Core principles of evolution. Every time a virus replicates, random mutations occur in its genetic material. Most of these mutations have no effect, but some can increase the virus' ability to survive and spread. When this happens, a new variant outcompetes older versions, demonstrating evolution in real time. The new version becomes dominant in the population because it outcompetes its predecessor. As we put pressures on the virus by means of our actions, social distancing, antibiotics, mononuclear antibody, etc., we put pressures on the viruses, right? Whereby they can continuously mutate, and eventually one or more will become prevalent because they have evaded your body's ability to defend against it for that moment. Every time a virus replicates, random mutations occur in the genetic material. Most of these mutations have no effect, but some can increase the virus's ability to survive and spread. When this happens, a new variant outcompetes older versions, demonstrating evolution in real time. How COVID-19 evolved. Mutations of virus accumulated changes in its RNA during replication, a natural process to a high degree with RNA because of its less stable structure. Natural selection, mutations that make the virus more transmissible or better at evading immunity gives it an advantage. New variants over time, different strains emerge. For example, the Alpha, the Delta, and Omicron. The Delta variant had mutations that made it more infectious, allowing it to outcompete earlier strains. So post-vaccine, Delta came around. Delta was so strong, it outcompeted the previous strain. For I was vaccinated prior to Delta. I got vaccinated and got Delta. However, being immune compromised, the vaccine did its work. I went live and told everybody I'm having a flu, while I had a positive outcome for Delta with a high count. So I was hard positive. Delta variant had a mutation that made it more infectious, allowing it to outcompete earlier strains. The Omicron variant evolved to partially evade immunity, leading to reinfections. It directly mirrors the process of evolution in all life forms. Mutations creating variations, and natural selection favoring traits that improve survival. If evolution were false, viruses couldn't mutate and adapt so rapidly, Neftali. But they do, proving evolution is an observable fact. Now, you might have a unique manner in which you try to explain this data. But I assure you, you will be wrong fundamentally and structurally. Gene duplication and new functions. These duplications creates extra copies of genes, which later evolve new functions. Yeah, genes can have new function. Yes, new functions. The evolution of color vision in primates resulted from duplication of absence genes. Zhang, 2003. Primates have tricolor vision. We have tricolor vision. Birds don't have tricolor vision. Cats don't have tricolor vision. Other mammalians don't have tricolor vision. Primates, our evolutionary branch. Aren't you glad primates have tricolor vision? You know how bland the world would look in black and white? Thank your monkey ancestors. Gene duplication creates extra copies of genes, which later evolve new function. The evolution of color vision in primates results from duplication in absence genes. Gene duplication occurs when a segment of DNA is copied, creating an extra copy of a gene. This can happen through various mechanisms like errors during a DNA replication or chromosomal rearrangement. Having duplicate genes provides a backup that can evolve independently from the original gene. Over time, one of the duplicated genes can accumulate mutations that change its function. Because the original gene is still present and functional, the mutated copy is free to evolve new roles without jeopardizing the organism's survival. Why? That mutation, until it becomes functional, plays no role in preventing the organism from reproducing and reaching a mature age which it can reproduce. That means that mutation up until a set point is neutral, and being over time keeps accumulating mutation until it becomes a functional working protein or gene. Over time, one of the duplicated genes accumulate mutation that changes function. Because the original gene is still present and functioning, the mutated copy is free to evolve new roles without jeopardizing the organism's survival. This process can lead to the development of entirely new biological functions. Amazing, huh? Natalie? How beautiful life is. Why is there no value? The evolutionary mechanisms of DNA. Evolution of color vision in primates. A classic example of gene duplication leading to a new function is the evolution of color vision in primates. Early primates had two types of absent genes responsible for detecting light. A duplication event in absence genes allows some primates to have three types of absence. Primates, three types of absence, giving them the ability to perceive a wider spectrum of color. This adaptation provided a selective advantage, especially in detecting ripe fruits and foliage in the dense forest canopy. Over time, this gene duplication led to the development of trichromatic color vision in some primates, like humans. This example demonstrates how gene duplication can be a key mechanism in evolution, providing the genetic material necessary for the development of new traits and functions. Yes, evolution. This is the part they don't like. The evolutionary mechanisms of DNA. The fossil and genetic evidence for common ancestry. Human and chimpanzees share 98.8% of their DNA, proving a common ancestor. Chimpanzee Genome Project 2005. Chromosome 2 in humans is a fusion of two ancestral A chromosomes with vestigial telomeres and centromeres still visible. Fan and colleagues in 2002. Genetic similarities. Human and chimpanzees share approximately 98.8% of their DNA, which is a powerful indicator of a common ancestor. This high genetic similarity suggests that humans and chimpanzees diverge from a shared ancestry around 5 to 7 million years ago. The genetic overlap is seen in numerous aspects of physiology, behavior, and biochemistry, supporting the idea of an evolutionary connection. Again, the Chimpanzee Genome Project, 2005. That one has my nose. That's my nose right there. That's no, that one. No, that one. That. Human evolution. Chromosome 2 fusion. Oops. Sorry.
But surprisingly, if humans share a common ancestor with apes, you'd expect us to have the same number. But surprisingly, human cells contain only 23 pairs. So there's only one possible explanation. And that explanation is that in the line that led to us, two chromosomes that were separate in other primates became fused to form a single chromosome. And this is why evolution is a science. That possibility is testable. We want to be able to look at our genomes and find that we carry a chromosome with the marks of that fusion on it. And it's human chromosome number 2. And the evidence is unmistakable. We suspected this for a very long time, and in 2005, a definitive study was published showing that chromosome 2 has an exact fusion point, almost the point at which the Scotch tape holds those two chromosomes together. The closer we look at our own DNA, the more detailed a glimpse we get of our own genome, the more powerful the evidence for our own evolution from common ancestry with other species becomes.
This fusion is evident because a human chromosome 2 contains vestigial telomeres, which are normally found at the end of chromosomes, and centromeres, which help chromosomes separate during cell division, which are remnants of two original chromosomes. These features cannot be explained by intelligent design and provide yet again, Neftali, clear evidence for evolutionary processes. Fan and colleagues, 2002. Look it up. Studied, peer-reviewed, data, empirical evidence. No designer, no evidence, only your feelings and your incredulity at play. This combination of genetic similarity and structural evidence like chromosome fusion strongly support the theory that humans and chimpanzees share a common ancestor. Get over it. Further validating the concept of evolution. Evolution directly contradicts intelligent design because it demonstrates how complexity arises naturally without the need for a designer. Through mutations, natural selection, and genetic drift, we observe life adapting and diversifying over time, a process that is testable, repeatable, and well documented. So there is no debate, because Neftali will only try to undermine what science says by her incredulity and ignorance. She will not be able to demonstrate nothing that she believes, even if she rewraps her crooked hair tie. She's not going to be able to do it. You insist on wanting a debate. All you need is an education. And Unc thinks you have the ability to understand it. That's why I'm doing this. You got to thank God, killer. Because me beyond hope. God killer believes there's some hope there. I really don't. But being a pseudo killer, it's my responsibility to provide you with the lesson. If life were designed we would expect perfect engineering, but instead we see inefficiencies, redundancies, and evolutionary leftovers, such as residual organs, broken genes, and the poorly routed recurrent laryngeal nerve. What more evidence do you need? These are exactly what we would expect from a process that modifies existing structures rather than design from scratch. And how? The changes in your environment are not predicted. You don't know what's coming, so you can prepare for them. It is once you're faced with those environmental pressures, what survives, survives. Nature builds upon that. Those that survived may have had a mutation that was beneficial. Eventually, that mutation is in the population. That happens over time. For a population to change, it has to reach the age of reproduction. My challenge to Neftali again, I hope you're writing down, I'm going to grade your paper. If DNA were designed, why does it show clear evidence of common ancestry and gradual changes rather than distinct, separate creation? Take your time with that one. It's going to require a lot of work for you to answer that question. And that's a double. That question counts for 2. That's half your score. That question right here. You know, and this is the part that frustrates me the most. We get accused of white man science. I've heard cooning. I've heard all type of derogatory rhetoric coming our way because we simply provide you with the tools to understand the natural world around us. The white man this and the white man that and the white man and the white man and the white man. Yet every time you pull back the layers, there's some pseudo-ass white man behind the nonsense they're pushing. That's the most annoying, frustrating, contradictory bull that they push. Michael Behe, one of the key figures behind intelligent design, that guy right there, that's a Caucasian. That's a white man, aka, isn't he? Why am I scared? Am I wrong? He looks white to me. Now, we don't be the white man, this white man, that over here, because if you're scientifically literate, that stuff becomes so ignorant to come out of your mouth. It's painful for me to even have to regurgitate such nonsense. Ubiquitous white man. Yet every time you look, there's some pseudo scamming white man behind it. Michael Behe, one of the key figures behind intelligent design ID, most famous for his concept of irreducible complexity. Behe argues that certain biological systems are so complex that they could not have evolved step by step through natural selection, as each part of these systems is necessary for their function. According to Behe, these systems must have been designed in their entirety. We just came through an whole exercise where you see no need for a designer. Yet here he comes at the tail end saying, wait a minute, no, like, look, that's that's irreducible, that's the flagellum, the bacterial flagellum that requires a design. I have no evidence. I have no evidence, really. I just feel that way. That's pretty much how the cold case went. Behe often points to the bacterial flagellum as a prime example of irreducible complexity. He claims that this structure, which acts like a motor to propel bacteria, could not function if any part were missing, implying that it could not have evolved gradually. However, numerous studies have shown that the flagellum is a modified secretion system that likely evolved in stages. For example, many of the proteins that make up the flagellum are also used in other simpler systems in other bacteria. Go figure. You could have done that so easy. Suggesting that the flagellum could have evolved step by step from simpler structures. We have the simpler structures. Miller, 2003. Yet Neftali brings this discredited, outdated, scamming Michael Behe to the community. She brings a false appeal to an authority that is an authority, debunked, chained by Harvard, James Tour. Why do these people do this to us? Why do they disrespect us as a community so much?
I just wanted to get it. Hey, said we gotta let some of it digest though, man. We don't want to, you know what I mean? We might do a part 2 because we coming up to that 2-hour mark.
I'm right here. I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much done.
No, I don't want you to, you know what I'm saying? If we got to do a part 2, we can do a part 2. I just ain't want you to.
Yeah.
I ain't want them to go too far over their head, man.
Let me just hit them this, then we could pretty much, right.
This is not a mechanical structure, but a super engine crafted by nature. It can achieve speeds ranging from 22,000 to 100,000 RPM, with energy conversion efficiency far surpassing any engine ever built by humans. The bacterial flagellar motor is a nanoscale machine found in flagellated bacteria, composed of proteins with components functioning similarly to gears, rotors, stators, drive shafts, couplings, and clutches. The motor is powered by the movement of ions across the cell membrane, driven by an electrochemical gradient. With slight modifications to certain proteins, the motor can reverse direction almost instantly or disengage from the propulsion system to allow the bacterium to remain stationary. This motor acts like a propeller, propelling bacteria forward at speeds of drive shafts, couplings, and clutches. The motor is powered by the movement of ions across the cell membrane, driven by an electrochemical gradient. With slight modifications to certain proteins, the motor can reverse direction almost instantly or disengage from the propulsion system to allow the bacterium to remain stationary. This motor acts like a propeller, propelling bacteria forward at speeds of up to 60 times their body length per second, a feat comparable to a human sprinting 100 meters in just 1 second.
All right. I'm going to leave it there for the night. I don't think you can handle much more of this anyway.
Yeah, man. You want to let it digest a little bit. You don't want to force feed them too much. They're going to start throwing up. You know what I mean? You got to let them let it marinate. Then you got to, bring it back. You feel me?
Yeah, Naftali, you got some homework to do. Go back, watch the presentations. There's a list of questions that you have to answer. So next time we see you, make sure you have your homework done. And I will be grading that paper, child, because since you want this lesson, you will have to get this lesson. Keep calling pseudo killers out. I'm going to keep embarrassing you. You're not worthy. You're not ready. You are ignorant and incoherent. You're preaching pseudoscience. You're bringing outdated, debunked, discredited Europeans and claiming to love black people. Stop it. Get help. And leave the pseudo killer's name out your mouth.
Want me to bring some, we got I said we could do about 20 minutes, bring some.
Yeah, you open up the panel. Open up the panel.
All right. Yeah, bring up some
Let's
people
get some.
panel,
let's see if anybody has got some evidence or answers to the questions that we were posing. Maybe the new evidence is out.
Yeah, so the link is in the chat. You know what I mean? Feel free, man. Whoever want to hit the link, if you want to hit the link, come on up. We ain't gonna terrorize you, man. We're gonna let you get your stuff off, man, and not speak too long, but you know how it is.
Yeah.
You know how it go. What's happening, war children? There you go. Yeah.
You understand?
Good work tonight.
You got heart, little nigga.
Listen, I'm here to support Cedric. You know what I'm saying? I have no lies detected in his argument. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I like what you said. But listen, man, I'll argue against the white man fallacy argument all day. And here's the crazy thing. They'll turn around, they'll say, oh, you using the white man citation, you using the white man stuff. And then turn around and use some white man stuff to support their freaking the hypocrisy is diabolical. So but when we ain't second in the ring, we coming in strong. You know what I'm saying? Wait for that clap back. Wait for that clap back. But y'all gotta respect me on a different level, because you know what I'm saying, I accept science. I get a lot of flack from the religious community, even as a person who has, you know, chosen to take a stance from my own human perspective, what works for me, you know what I'm saying, psychologically and philosophically. But I divide, you know what I'm saying, my objective from my subjective. And it, you know, and they interplay here and there. However, when it comes to science, you know what I'm saying, and when it comes to empirical evidence, I'll never argue with you. So y'all got the wrong Negro.
and you see right there, he put me on thin ice, because Sosa they said you will have a debate there, because I
ain't see your full presentation to know what you're planning on.
I'm gonna find something in there. I'm gonna find something in there. Watch out.
What is it that you? I asked you this, War Child. What do you have a problem with the pseudo killers about? Because I think you had a disagreement with
No. Okay, so it's the boundaries of the human mind, and when we start, you know what I'm saying, becoming factions, we start becoming factions and stuff, and then it's not just pseudo killers. So I literally said in one of my recent projects, you know what I'm saying, that I was on live, that I'm not gonna, when I was on with Ankh West the other day, I said I'm not gonna attack the pseudo killers. I'll only address each person.
We can just have a conversation. They ain't gotta be
and that's what I want to do, because I'm not about, you know what I'm saying, building, you know what I'm saying, war or creating wars. Unless you want a rap battle, we can do that all day.
Oh, you ain't ready, man. Come on, man.
But oh man, said tell him did I go Wu-Tang or not?
No, we having fun.
Sabio got the mic right there. He already ready to battle.
You might want to play my last clapback.
The clapback was good.
Play sets first, and then play my clapback after.
Oh man,
see, I got bars, man. I grew up with Rakim. I grew up with what's his name? Freaking daggone. I grew up with a whole bunch of rap. I was like literally know these people, you know what I'm saying? Eric B. Rakim, that was part of my culture. So you can't tell me that I don't have bars. That's speculation, objection.
No, listen. You came good with it. You came hot with it. It's all good fun. I appreciate the clap back. Hip hop is a sport. We adults ain't nothing.
I wasn't gonna clap back until you said clap back, and I was like,
come on, clap back, yo. Come on. Don't leave me out of
What up? Let me introduce my brother Sabio in the building real quick.
Sabio's the warrior.
What's going on, man?
Yeah,
the one and only.
What's on your mind, Sabio?
What's good? First off, I want to shout out my boy Seb for dropping the knowledge, the indisputable truth that can't nobody refute, no matter how philosophical you try to be with it, no matter how much theology you try to force into the science, it doesn't work. And this is where a lot of roads get crossed, conversations get crossed. Within everything that's said, dropped, you will find people that will do their best to find a way to question the science with their philosophical stances. Philosophy is what helped push science and theology forward. This is why I am apt and quick to use a term bio, social, theological, political, because you have to understand how all these terms helped create the situation that we are in today. The Greeks, as I've been saying, and there are many scholars, classical scholars, who are saying the same thing. The Greeks were using land, lineage, food, water, and those places, those things, to equate your ethnicity, your race, your culture, yada, yada, yada. So as we move forward in time and empires are built, nations are built, feudalism, tribalism, all these different systems come into place, what also happens? Political systems develop, ideologies, theological ideologies develop that brings cohesiveness.
Yep.
I'm gonna be brief.
It was a great
No
instrument
argument with that.
in producing early societies, and kept and had a great power in allowing for state formation and the political systems that we
Yes.
see today. There is no doubt about that. However, we also see when it began to outgrow its purpose and its functionality.
I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing against any of that. Said what I'm saying is that these things are all outgrowths, as you were saying, but you weren't saying. And I'm going to say it because I am an anti-theist. All gods are human constructs, all of them.
Oh,
Every last one of them, from the rock paintings to Quetzalcoatl to Yahweh to Buddha to the flying fucking spaghetti monster. We create them in our minds and we give them agency and life and ability because we have that ability to. So we give them agency by what? Giving them rituals, practices, names, and worshiping them over time. If we still thought that Zeus was hurling lightning bolts, we wouldn't be on the internet in 2025. I rest my case, Zion.
Hey,
yeah, I just want to add on to that.
Go ahead.
I acknowledge all those attributes of religion, and we need to also acknowledge that it came a time when when it outgrew its functionality. You had the Dark Ages being imposed as these societies became more, and they continue to grow. Inquiry into natural processes also became more and more prevalent. And we see the advent of the Dark Ages, where Galileo and these type of people were persecuted. You have the Spanish Inquisition, right? So you have a very, very, and not to mention the theocratic states that exist on the planet today, where we see a complete suppression and regression in societies. So these are some of the arguments that I would have in terms of a necessity on a societal scale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can I jump in real quick? Because I agree.
Hold on, War Child. You made a statement in the comments. I just want you to.
Right. So this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. There's this idea, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't create the idea. It's called rational transcendence. If you can mute your mic for a second, because I think I'm getting an echo. Y'all hear an echo?
Me, I'll mute mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the thing called rational transcendence. What I have been arguing, even from, you know what I'm saying, from a logical perspective, considering religion, lately I've spoken about the human boundaries, right? And there are certain things that we as human beings tend to do. You know what I'm saying? Whether, you know what I'm saying, someone's a believer in Zeus or Quetzalcoatl, just like, you know what I'm saying, Sabio just said, these things gain agency with us in our minds as human beings. And what ends up happening is the human becomes involved. The group thinking, the group think, you know what I'm saying, becomes involved, and then it becomes some form of transcendence or dichotomy. I'm better than you because this is your God, or that is your science. You know, people with animistic beliefs didn't believe in gods; they believed in animism, etc., etc. The human factor is always going to be there. And so what I'm pointing out is that as we engage in science, we can never forget the human limitations. And I'm not saying that we can't transcend those things.
Okay,
can I finish? Nobody cut anybody else off.
No,
I certainly did.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, so in that, you know, we have to be careful not to start repeating the same cycle just because. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I know science. For instance, with quantum physics, you know what I'm saying? Real quick, a lot of things in quantum physics will never be quantified. Like, well, we don't know that they will never be quantified. But at this point, a lot of things are theory, string theory, the edge or the of the universe, which, you know what I'm saying, a lot of scientists will say with our present technological knowledge and scientific knowledge, we cannot measure. Right. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, people still throw out theories and hypotheses about that. And that is a part of the human experience, the human mind trying to, you know, transcend the limitations. And that's fine. But, you know what I'm saying? But to say, oh, you know what I'm saying? Well, string theory is the truth. And, you know what I'm saying? There's 11 different universes and stuff like that. And if you don't believe in that, you know what I'm saying? Then you're a fool, is wild. And no less cultish in that behavior. Again, that human, we have to be careful with our humanistic experience. I will never force my religion on anybody. Never force my beliefs or my scientific understanding on it. I'll open the conversation for consideration. But if we want to debate, then I'm going to go hard on this and I'm going to go hard on that. But I'm going to stay in my lane. You understand what I'm saying? Because I know when it's time to argue objective truths over subjective philosophical and psychological boundaries. You see what I'm saying? So you'll never catch me arguing God over science. But I can argue how God is a part of psychology and philosophy in a very in almost a default program of the human experience. Whether your God be a deity or your God be rationalism. Somebody asked me in the chat, and I'm gonna close this out. Somebody asked me in the chat, go ahead and act a freaking monkey. You just showing your evolutionary scale has not evolved. Bro. Come on, bro. Don't do that to me, man. I didn't do that while you was talking. I nodded my head and I stroked my chin. But I didn't freaking daggone do all of that, man. Come on, man. Let's be civilized.
Because that was funny. Because rationalism is a god. That was comedy.
No. Because in the term of what a god is, if you look up the Hebrew definition, a god can be anything, and it doesn't have to be a deity or an idol or something physical or a person or an animal. It can be a thought process. It can be rationalism, because the word only means authority. So when you're cutting me off, man. This is why I'm saying.
Hey, but I mean, hold on, but you can't go. Hold on. I mean, we're gonna let you rock, but you can't.
Even if you don't agree with me, just let me finish and put a period.
Hold on a second. We're gonna let you rock, but you can't go too crazy. And then you just going like from one subject to the other. You just galloping a little bit. So just stick to what stick to one thing and let us respond. Hold on.
That's the group thing.
Because look, when you go from
everything that I'm exposing right now. Exactly everything I'm exposing right now.
You go from one subject.
This is the human side. This is the dichotomy. This is the group thing. Us against them.
Hold on, bro. I'm just talking to
against them.
You said you wanted to have a conversation, right?
I'm good, man. Joe said you did good, man. You did good. I'm out. When we debate, I'll clear all of this up. All right.
So you running?
I'm out.
All
I'm
right.
not gonna do. I'm
All
not
right,
gonna
peace
do the funky stuff.
right.
Love
Yeah,
y'all.
get
You know
funky
what I'm
in here
saying?
sometime.
All right. All right, watch out. We catch
So,
up.
Peace
so
out.
peace. He run it. Why?
Yeah.
Because number one, as you said, he was gish galloping. Number
Mhm.
two, he said a lot of things that didn't connect. So we can look at the psychological and the human aspect of God, of gods, all of them, the ones that I mentioned, the ones that were not mentioned. The one thing that we cannot deny is no animal, lion, tiger, bear, giraffe, dog, cat, fish, worm,
You went out.
the
You went out a little
ocean,
bit.
and the Marianas Trench
Say that
knows
again. You went
anything
out.
about this God.
You get me?
Oh, my bad. Where'd I go out at?
About a few words ago. Say it again.
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you?
So we can talk about the psychological and the philosophical aspects of all these gods as humans. But one thing that cannot be denied is that all the other living organisms that breathe and have to eat, from fish to cats to worms at the bottom and amoeba and unnamed organisms at the bottom of the Marianas Trench in the Pacific Ocean, don't know shit about this God. Where no sunlight hits, there's life. But somehow this God that he wants to project created it.
I'm gonna say this.
And psychologically.
Shout out to the Brain Show, because the Brain Show, once you go through that process, the pseudo killers is a school, y'all, and you can see the evolution and the evolution and the transformation in my rhetoric. I came in hardcore anti-theist. I would actively promote anti-theism. However, the Brain Show,
still that,
and I appreciate it, it's necessary. But going through the Brain Show, and again, being around individuals like Sosa, shout out to Sosa, missed it.
Yeah, shout out to Sosa, man.
There's a
Big
tendency to humanize the science that we engage in, and it's necessary, right? So I wasn't pushing back too much on what science was saying, because yes, when you use science to understand the human condition, to understand the brain, if you fundamentally understand that the brain was created to manage the complex biochemistry of our body, as a result of the complexity and emergent property, which is this higher level of awareness. We are the only animal that can actually understand our mortality. That brings with it
the world that we engage.
Exactly.
That's why always when we have the arguments,
understand and manipulate the world.
You in the matrix, Sabio. But that's why when we had the arguments, I always say that belief is a byproduct. That's why I argue. You know what I'm saying? Like we said, the brain was only meant to
and another mechanism which we fail to realize, we say it all the time. There is no humaning without belief. There is no action without belief. Every action that you take is because there is belief. Not lack of belief will not produce action. We believe that there was a boogeyman in the bush. That's why we ran. That hard bang you hear right now, you believe it is a gunshot, because that will save your life. You believe that. You can investigate after and come to knowledge. But all action is belief based. So no pseudo killer denies belief. However, we understand the co-opting of our brain processes that leads to belief in supernatural agency. We have the tendency to give agency, intent. Things happen for a reason. If things happen for a reason, then there must be agency, intent, consciousness behind said action that is natural within us. And we look for causal connections. We
Hey,
are
Sid.
we are infamous in doing that happened because of this. That happened
Yes.
because of that.
Hey,
That is
Sid.
natural to humans.
Hey, but why is it natural to humans, right? It go back to what you were saying about evolution. Those
Yeah,
genes that favored that trait, those ones,
those were
the ones
selected
that
for.
they were selected in nature and survived in those environments, and they survived to where majority of the people now that you see today have the believing brain
Yeah,
because those traits survived in this environment. Not saying that it needed to survive or it was like the best thing, but it was just good enough to where that's
good
what you
enough.
got now.
And fortunately,
Hey,
we have the
Ken,
ability
are y'all
to
familiar
adapt.
with this?
The Selfish Gene by
Now,
Richard
you know,
Dawkins.
Dawkins my man.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes,
check
Yes,
out
sir.
a good one by Dawkins. What's the name of that joint, man? I
Don't
I
play
put
with
Unc
me.
onto the joint.
Don't play with me.
The magic of reality. That's what I got.
And
I've read that first from Dawkins. I was on him ever since, Joe. Like he just broke down like the different beliefs and different cultures. Like I never really knew other cultures had a rainbow story. You know how we got the rainbow story with the
Y'all seen
Bible,
this? Have
the
y'all
whole
are y'all hip to
hold
this?
on, Savior, hold on, Savior. You know, in the Bible, we got the rainbow story about, you know, God flooded the earth in 40 days, 40 nights, or whatever. And then he sent the rainbow to let
yep, as a
as a
sign.
promise. Yeah.
Yep.
There's other cultures that got their own rainbow God stories.
Yeah, of
You know what I'm
course.
saying? Crazy. I
I
never
mean,
really knew that until I read that book, and I was like, oh, it's like a bunch of other stories dealing with the
but the
rainbow that,
leprechaun,
you know.
the leprechaun uses the rainbow as his path to find the pot of gold. That's Irish. We talk about, but
That's
we
Irish.
don't stop and see that that is their cultural container to explain that natural phenomena. We have
So
adopted religious by means of the transatlantic slave trade and that age of discovery is why we have that tradition of Noah's flood. Otherwise, you would have another tradition explaining a natural phenomena, which brings me to this point. If you look at religion in all its forms, what it does, it is trying to explain the natural world around us. You, all of us are aware of our thoughts. With modern science, we understand brain and these stuff. Imagine the Egyptians who used to extract the brain, didn't know what it was because they thought emotions, etc., were coming from the heart. So again, we take for granted that we understand these things. But there was a time where people was actually trying to sit and figure out how the hell is there a disconnect between me and my physical being? Yet I look at Kent and Savior as a complete. But I see myself as distinct from my own body. That led to deep philosophical thought, to these ideas of spirit and soul. I do not undermine them. It was a process that led to our understanding of neuroscience and psychiatry and psychology. Those were steps along the way, but we need not get stuck in that belief system. I heard what's his name, Captain Tazaria, expressing a belief system with such conviction, it is as if he tested in a laboratory. He is explaining where the spirit and the soul is one going to happen when you die, and he's going in. And mind you, when Sarnetta spoke about the weighing of the heart, the Egyptian cultural container for their dealing with mortality. He said and dismissed that very quickly. Now, well, that's just belief. They make that up. Yet was able to talk about the spirit going back to God and going to rest. And I'm confused. The body's going to die. So what is going to happen to the soul? Is it going to rest or is it going back to God? Because he talked about, you see that when we talk about an old soul, that's the spirit coming back. But according to your narrative, we need to rest to be judged. So are we judged along the way? You see, and he is talking this nonsense with such conviction, and it's like, I can understand that you're holding on to an Aristotelian frame of reference, but you don't even know that in today's world, that metaphysical claim is not even supported by philosophy, because within the realm of philosophy, all metaphysical claims must have some epistemic grounding. When we talk about love, there is no empirical, tangible data, but we all experience it, so we can have the metaphysical conversation about love. When you try to have a metaphysical a conversation about spirit and soul, the conversation is moot, even in philosophical terms. So now it's purely a theological conversation, and we know what that is. Imagination 101.
Man.
So this in this book, Breaking the Spell. Shout out to the doctor that y'all had on a couple weeks ago. I can't remember his name, but he spoke on the
Dr. Andy.
HA.
Oh, Dr. Andy. Yeah,
the HAD. Dr. Andy.
Dr.
Dr.
Andy.
Andy. He spoke on the
Yeah.
HAD. All right, now in chapter 3, page 108 in Breaking the Spell, the roots of religion, how nature deals with the problem of other minds. He speaks on the HADD, the hyper agency detection device, the hyperactive agent detection device. And this is the good trick. The good trick, as said, spoke of. If you were a hunter-gatherer on the savannas of Africa and you were out hunting, as Ankh has said numerous times, and the wind rustled and you ran, you survived. But if it was a lion or a hyena or a leopard,
lunch,
or alligator, you was lunch.
Yeah, that's what we said earlier, Sabio, that the genes that favored belief, like I think what was the other book? With Shermer. Mike, was it Michael? Is it Michael Shermer?
Michael Shermer,
Get
yeah.
this book.
Yeah, hey, the book Believing Brain. He speak on it a lot. He got a video on YouTube. Y'all can look it up. But
Yeah,
he talk about how, you know, it was, you know, the genes over time favored the people that believed in the ghosts or the rustlings in the bushes and all that to be a threat. You know what I'm saying? They survive more, because you could be, you know, somebody like us and be like skeptical and be like, it might not be a tiger. I don't know. That's y'all talking crazy. And then actually be a tiger and eat you up, and then you're dead and your genes can't pass up. So yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
and
yeah,
another
we know where the belief, you know, how it come, where it come from.
Yeah, and,
I mean,
another point before we round this evening off. Tomorrow's another work day. I want to address atheism. Peace, Philippines. How you doing, brother? Long time to see you. Atheism simply means I don't believe that bullshit. All throughout history, all throughout time, we have documented evidence of people within societies that simply did not buy the jargon. So we are not doing anything that is outside of the human experience. It is individuals who had ideas like us outside of the conventional who push society forward. Newton, Einstein, Darwin. These are the people that we represent. The ones that did not accept the status quo.
Harrison, stand up.
That's why we keep moving society forward. Science is undefeated. No matter what you try, you still can't beat it. With that,
You're using it now.
Yes, indeed, man. We're gonna got down. We're gonna get up out of here, man. Peace to everybody that just joined in, man, or that been joined in. Hold on, I gotta look back at the Philip Baines, Indigenous Black Man. What up, Sid Breeze? Gary, we see you. Scarab Mika One, man. Thank y'all for sticking with us, man. Let me run that back, man. I kind of brought that in a little bit late, but hey, Sabio, appreciate you for coming on, man. Hey, any last words, man?
Always, anytime I have this chance and the opportunity, I'll always rock with the pseudo
already
killers.
Sabio always rock with the pseudo. I support Sabio full out. Yes, sir. Shout out to Mongo Slade in the building. Shout out to all the pseudo killers that came out tonight. Indigenous Black Man, I see you. You incorrigible, my brother. You're beyond.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And we out here, man.
With the scholarship salute, we give them kudos. But the people with that look of shit, we look and see straight through those like tell us do. If you ain't speaking fast, we gotta tell them folks and let them know the truth. You bringing malinformation to blast, then you the Ku Klux. Like say, don't talk me to death, bro, what the proof of? Good choo-choo chillin', why you wanna go way bad choo-choo Shalom boy got the tank in the cut. I'm in Sosa World plotting on the kick though with Kent. Come and Tiffany gave me the pseudo names on the list and said went and got the low. Anthony got him in the scope, Gullah and Gozy make sure DNA ain't a problem for them folks, cause a pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. Pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy.
We're not attacking individuals. We're attacking the information and attacking the methodology. This is long time coming right here. Let them know that we right there, running neck and neck with all other communities. We will not be left behind.
Yeah. Back at it again. I'm having too much fun, I gotta admit. Shout out to Smash Scamware. Y'all know what time it is. He's a scam god, straight lying on the clip.
Nah, I ain't gonna do it to him. Hey, man, appreciate everybody for coming out, man. Hey, we out.